if we don't resist it, then who is gonna? We're gonna leave that burden to our daughters instead. Like maybe the perspective of truly aging won't be accessible to them. And that is a terrifying thought. Like, what if the crone vanishes in the culture? The actual process of healing requires our embodiment. So what happens then if our faces can't express despair or ecstasy and joy?
What happens when a daughter watches her mother alter her face? What happens to our sense of rootedness and belonging when we've rejected the face our ancestors gave us? What happens to collective womanhood when we watch our elders cling to the appearance of youth at all costs? I'm Amber Magnolia Hill. Welcome to Medicine Stories, where we are remembering what it is to be human upon the earth. Today I'm sharing my conversation with Rachel Brathen, who you may know as Yoga Girl. In an age of choice feminism, whatever a woman wants to do is inherently empowering. What do we owe one another and the generations rising after us? This is a nuanced and non-shaming conversation. While Rachel and I feel securely grounded in our decisions to retain our original faces, we also acknowledge that there's a lot of room for discussion around these topics and that every woman's participatory threshold is going to fall at its own place along the spectrum of beauty treatments. We spoke in order to make our way through this confusing morass together, as mothers, as women with an audience, as crones in the making who know that there is no such thing as anti-aging. And that women with an audience thing, I was thinking about that line. It's not just because we have podcasts or social media followings, and hers is quite large. We are all women with an audience. We all have people in our lives who see us and who we influence. And that's exactly at the heart of this inquiry today is, what does that mean when we all are visible, not to everyone on the planet, but at least to the women in our lives, when so many of us are making the choice to alter the faces that our ancestors gave us, that have been ours since birth, that our daughters and the other young ones around us see. We have recorded a bonus conversation, as usual, at the Medicine Stories Patreon, kind of a from restriction and food fear to nourishment conversation, as we love to have on this podcast, about Rachel's and my past with veganism, becoming mothers as vegans, going through our first pregnancies, births, postpartum periods, vegan, and how that shifted for us, how we've held that shift within our families, how we've talked to our children about it, and what true nourishment feels like and looks like for us every day now. So, without further ado, let's dive into this conversation. Hi, Rachel. Thank you for joining me from halfway across the globe, and welcome to Medicine Stories.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
I was so happy to come across this Instagram reel you posted of yourself a couple months ago talking about ever-changing, ever-evolving beauty standards, aging, and how you're navigating this. I've wanted to talk about this on this podcast for quite a while. I did a post on Instagram a couple years that certainly drew a lot of comments and a lot of opinions. And I also want to talk about the many opinions that people share. I went through my comments on my post, your comments on your post, to sort of get the gist of how women are feeling about this right now. So let's start with, how old are you? I'm 45, so I think I'm a little deeper into like the sort of shock of beauty loss as we age. And I want to hear how old you are, where you're at navigating this.
Oh, wow. Beauty loss. I never heard that term before.
Listen, I saw...
Is that your term, or is that a clinical thing?
I saw this reel kind of went viral a month or so ago, and it's like, no one warns you about mid-40s ugly. And that just really hit me, and it hit a lot of women in the comments too. And, you know, my sweet daughters are always like, "Mommy, you're so beautiful. Oh, look, oh, you look so good in what you're wearing." And I love it so much. And I know that it's that no one is as hard on us as we are on ourselves. But for many women, we hit our mid 40s and it's like, ooh, something really did shift though. Like something that I looked like myself a few years ago, and now I don't look like myself to myself anymore. So I guess, yeah, beauty loss is my phrase that I just said.
Yeah, no, that hit me a little bit. Well, I'm 37. I'm going to be 38 in the fall, and I have a 3-year-old and a 9-year-old, and I kind of feel like I'm just in the, that part of postpartum where you're starting to realize you're out of postpartum and not, feeling the same in my body after that. And I've been very struck by how different postpartum was, having a baby at 35 versus having a baby at 28. At 28, I was 2 weeks postpartum doing handstands fitting into my jeans. Like, this is just what it is. At 35, there was no such thing. That idea of like returning to what was before. It's taken me, I think, until now to actually fully accept that body is gone. And I feel like it's a processing that has to be given some space, rather than I think there's a tendency in the spiritual world to like just embrace yourself, just love yourself as you are. It's all about the inside. But there is a huge component to being a woman having had so much of our self-worth lie in the idea of beauty and in the idea of what beauty is supposed to be. And maybe having been told that we're beautiful and getting a lot of our validation from that. And then not saying our beauty goes, because of course that's super subjective and not at all actually true, but our society's standard, like we don't fit into that anymore. And then what? Like really, then what? Okay, do we fake it and kind of pretend like we don't care at all? We're so chill and relaxed, where I actually think most of us really do care. There's something to that, like feeling beautiful, adorning ourselves, feeling comfortable, feeling, it's a big thing. Like I think it's a bigger thing than we like to make it up to be.
I agree. And I just want to have like an honest conversation with you about it, because I think about it every day with myself, and it's not the biggest thing in my life, and I'm not chasing anti-aging beauty treatments. I have no desire to do that. I will never do that. And at the same time, it's a very real part of my life right now. I feel like maybe there's something that happens late 30s, mid 40s, where actually I saw someone say this yesterday, like women in their 60s and 70s, they're so far away from youth that they're no longer pining for who they were just yesterday. But we're sort of in that stage of life where you're like, oh, this is new. This is an adjustment. And like you said, what do we do with it now?
And I think that, even now we are seeing women in their 60s and 70s kind of returning to what they look like when they were in their 40s, and that being very normalized. And it's getting increasingly difficult to keep a grasp of reality. Like I find that I need to stay away from social media and the media and conversations altogether. When I'm alone in my little bubble with my family, I feel really beautiful. I feel no doubt. But as soon as I like dip my toe in that little space, it's like, oh my God, I got to do something. Can't just let myself be. Everybody's doing something. Everybody is injecting something or using this device or using that. Like everybody's on it. And there's that feeling of like, I'm not on it. I'm left behind. Everyone else is going to be in control of their aging. And I've lost control, And I think it's obviously this very intelligent and very false narrative brought to us by capitalism that just wants us to buy more and more things, and patriarchy that just wants to control us. But it doesn't feel that way. It feels very real. Like, if I'm not beautiful, do I have value? Like, do I have worth?
Well, I think it is, there's modern consumerism and marketing tactics, but women have always held power through their beauty and sexuality. So I think that this goes deeper for us than even these last 100 years or so of like mass media. It is the loss of the currency that we've always held as women.
Yeah, loss of power through that.
Yeah. But like you're saying, same when I'm with my family and the people who love me, I viscerally feel this does not matter at all. No one loves me less. And it is, as so many people have pointed out, as my grandmother used to say when she got into her 80s and would talk about all the friends and family she had lost, that it's such a blessing to age. And so these women who are chasing these beauty standards and spending so much time and money to recapture a youth that they can't recapture, it's a rejection of the aging process. And I think about what is going to happen to the women who have, had that mindset downloaded into them by the culture when they really start to age, when death approaches, when they have to grieve the people they loved, because they've avoided this like very real part of being human by chasing this quote anti-aging lifestyle.
How do you feel about just having the conversation in general or in a public setting? Because I struggle sometimes with placing the burden on the women who do the surgeries and who do the injections and who versus placing the burden on the system.
Yeah.
And where do we draw that line? Like, where does it become our personal responsibility as women to be really like to guard what we are passing down to our daughters and our children who are looking at us?
Exactly.
Like, even this was so interesting. Just before jumping into this conversation now, like, I was in the garden all day, sweaty, dirty, jumped in the shower. I want to feel fresh for this interview. Like, I'm on camera. I want to, put on a dress and feel good about myself when I'm here. And so I took a shower and then I put on this dress, and my daughter, who's 9, she looks at me and she goes, "Are you wearing that just to talk to somebody?" And I was like, "Yeah, it makes me feel, a little more confident than when I'm in my sweatpants. I feel a little like better about myself." Like, I showered and she just looks at me and she goes, "Okay." And then I put on some deodorant, just some like hippy dippy organic thing. And she's like, so why are you using that? Why are you putting on deodorant? Like, what does that do? And I'm like, "Oh, just so I don't get smelly." And then she kept asking. This was 15 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago. And I just realized, like, hey, with every single product that I use, everything I do in my day to day, and this is basic little stuff, like putting on a dress and some deodorant, like basic hygiene. I'm sort of indirectly telling her, like, what is okay and what is not okay. Smelling myself, not okay, right? Smelling myself, like, that's something we shouldn't do. We should wear a deodorant. We should showing up, like, where is that line between taking care of ourselves and tending to ourselves versus, oh, now I'm putting on a lot of makeup. Now I'm curling my hair. Now I'm just injecting a little bit of Botox, just a little bit over here. Nobody can tell. Like, it's so blurry.
Yeah.
And I struggle with that because anybody can say, okay, so what is aging naturally? What does it even mean? Like, you wear makeup, you put on jewelry, you do all those things, put a face cream, like, what is us and what is not us?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's why I phrased it as like the women who've had this downloaded into their brains through the culture, because it is, the culture is the water we swim in. It's, it's so hard to step outside of that. And I don't, this is hard. I don't blame individual women for wanting to look beautiful. I want to look beautiful. I see all the women around me. I see my daughters wanting to look beautiful. Everyone, with very few exceptions, cares about what they look like and how they present and wants to be attractive. For me, I will not be pursuing these anti-aging interventions, especially the really newfangled ones. Like, I don't want Sharon Osbourne's face or anything like it, as an act of honoring my ancestors and protecting or setting what for me feels like the right example for my daughters. This is a collective issue. And, I see this play out, like the algorithm feeds me videos about like Sharon Osbourne, Demi Moore, stuff like this, because I am really interested as a mother of two daughters in watching this cultural conversation play out. And there are the people who say, you go, girl, do what you want to do. We should not be commenting on other people's bodies or appearances in any way whatsoever. And that's a very popular, it's called choice feminism stance of like anything a woman wants to do is by default empowering because she's doing what she wants to do. The way I see it, and I, feel lucky to have seen so many people articulate this better than I had for myself, is that we're all in a collective. We're all seeing each other's faces. We're all seeing what each other is doing. And there are young girls, there are our daughters watching. And to participate in the setting of these absurd standards that don't anti-age us, because there's no such thing as anti-aging, sets our daughters up for a lifetime of pain and ultimately failure because they're going to age too.
And I can feel this sense of powerlessness around that too, knowing that the number of people who are not going in that direction is just shrinking. It really feels like it is. I have siblings in their early 20s whose friends are getting injectables and anti-aging creams. And I was talking to my mom and she was like, I think late 40s, she started with like her first wrinkle cream or something. And that's just dropping and dropping and dropping. And this idea of you have to get ahead of your aging before there's even a sign that you're aging. You have to start controlling your body and make sure there's no visible signs of time passing on your face in any way. And that level of rigidity, that level of control, I think is scary in every area. It's not just scary around what our faces look, and it's representative of how women are controlled everywhere.
I watched my grandmother's age. I didn't get to watch my mother age. She died at 64, and she really didn't appear old yet. Now I realize, that was right around the corner for her, though, of being like an elderly person. But one of my grandmas lived to 84 and one of them lived to 101. And I feel so lucky to have had that anchoring. And I wonder if that contributes to, like, I'm not even tempted to do any of those anti-aging things. There's no part of me that's like, should I be? Will I someday? To me, it's such a strong no. Like, it just feels like the opposite of, again, self-honoring and honoring the women I came from and my daughters and like the collective feminine to do that. That's how it feels to me. But I wonder if watching my grandmother's age sort of set me up to feel that way. I have experience of watching a woman age and not lose any of her love or creativity or the beautiful life she had built because her beauty faded. Have you had elder women in your life that you've been able to witness?
Yeah. Both I still have one of my grandmothers alive. And then I had two grandmothers on my mom's side. She had a biological mother and a stepmother who was a grandmother to all, who both aged and aged very gracefully. And I think that, and when I say graceful to me means, aging gracefully means not resisting and understanding and really feeling that there's beauty in each stage of life. It's maybe loss of conventional beauty or loss of society's standard for what beauty is. But to me, there's something so beautiful about a wrinkly face. And I think it's more, I find it more beautiful every year because we see less and less of them. So when you meet a person or you meet a woman who's really like, you see the signs of time and her life lived, it's rare, especially in the media. It's really rare. We don't get any examples of that anymore in movies and videos. I mean, it's so rare that when you see an actress, scrunch up her face and you can see the lines on her forehead, you're like, wow. And I don't know if our daughters will have that experience of being able to tell the difference between a mother and a grandmother, like if we keep going in this direction. And that's really, really scary to me. And if we don't resist it, then who is gonna? We're gonna leave that burden to our daughters instead.
Hey, I want to let you fans of slow infused whole plant herbal oils know that it is that time when we have our 50% off our St. John's wort sale. Just head over to mythicmedicine.shop. You don't need a coupon code. It will just automatically take the half off once you add it to your cart. And it'll end when this batch of oils sells out. So I don't know, depending on when you're listening to this sale might be over. But as of now, high summer 2026, our St. John's wort herbal oils, also our sun and moon oil, which is St. John's wort plus mugwort. Also our bundle of 3 St. John's wort oils, which is already discounted. They are all going to be half off. Just add them to your cart. You'll see the discount, and it's a great time to take advantage of this sale and feel the profound relaxation of using this plant infused into this oil onto your skin. It is truly sunshine in a bottle and the most nourishing thing you can do for your nervous system in the moment. Your kids will love it. You will love it. When people do whatever a woman wants to do is fine. Why are you judging? That I come back to what you just said, since it is coming very natural to me to hold this line, to hold this field for myself, I'm going to share that in case that can be a beacon for other women. And call it judgment. What are we all doing in a society? We're all judging each other because we're all drawing lines of discernment saying, I will not be participating in that. You can participate in that, but I will not be. And we're allowed to criticize this and we're allowed to talk about it and call it out. And again, I envision it as holding this field. If you are also not going to be going down this path, come over and stand with me. And, we can at least be together fighting this cultural tidal wave.
And how do you feel about the crunchy mom sort of, new age, natural, holistic practices around face massage and, here's a course to I'm getting rid of wrinkles naturally. And if you just do this every day, it's just 10 minutes. Because I find that that's really prevalent in my feed. I get more of that. Probably because I get really my eyes light up when I see it. Okay, wait, so you're doing that without all those things and how? But then I realize I'm playing into the same game. It's the same fear. It's the same end result of I'm not allowed to age. I'm not allowed to look like I'm aging. And whether I do that through this method of like, sure, healthier, sure, more grounded, touching your face. But to me, it's like the same fear that I'm feeding.
Mm-hmm. That's hard. I feel like we could just create a list of like every possible beauty intervention, and each woman is going to either be like, that's too much for me, or of course I would do that. There's so like shaving your body hair. There's so many. We're all going to land somewhere different. And I do see women speaking out against that and being like, I am so okay with aging that I'm not even gua shaing my face ever as like, an act of rebellion. Or I'm just fine with it and I don't feel the need to gua sha my face. I don't know. Like I have mast cell activation syndrome. Sometimes my lymphatic system really backs up and my face gets really puffy. I am an expert at facial lymphatic drainage now, and like I will keep doing that. I did it before our call this morning because I didn't sleep super well last night. I know what you're saying.
But is it the intent? Because for me, the intention there, like the courses that I see on social media are like, get rid of wrinkles. Look how youthful I look. I am so and so old and I look like this and I've never done Botox. And then everybody's like, oh, that's so interesting. Versus like my hands are touching my body. This is a moment for me that's from a place in here versus like I want the same end result. I don't want any lines on my face. So give me something. Right. And I have a really hard time engaging with either of those places because it feels to me that when I start picking apart one part of myself and I go down that path and I decide, okay, I'm going to do this 10 minutes every day so I don't get these wrinkles here.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's like a house of cards that starts to collapse. And all of a sudden I'm like not okay with these gray hairs. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, and then my stomach looks like this. And I start to look at myself from this very limited lens of not okay.
Yeah.
Versus like,
you put that really beautifully in your post. You said, when I reject a part of myself, my whole body listens.
Yeah. And we've all done that throughout our lives. I mean, in so many we did that or I did that when I was little, not wanting to gain weight, controlling what I ate, obsessively standing on a scale from the moment I was like 9 or 10 years old. I mean, I've done that in different ways for different reasons throughout my life, but it's all the same energy of like, this is not okay. And I'm kind of using society's as a lens. Like I want that validation. Like, is this okay? Am I an acceptable weight now? Is this okay? Is my face okay? Is my hair okay? Is my body like? And at some point, I would like to arrive at that place of I'm okay from here. And I'm not there. I don't know if that there ever arrives, but if it doesn't arrive when you get older, like if I don't get there when I'm in my 60s or 70s, then what? I spent my whole life. Am I going to be on my deathbed resisting this body? That's an absurd thought.
It is. It's like we can be so conscious of this. We can be knowing that we are not personally going to be getting Botox, etc. But still, I feel unable to get there where you're talking about. I don't know if I'll ever completely uninsnare myself from the desire to look good.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. Yeah. And it's a big thing. And it's also such a small, like it's probably the least interesting thing about us,
Mm-hmm.
but it takes up a lot of space
Yeah.
inside.
One thing I come back to again and again, and I say this to my daughters all the time too, is that no one is picking apart your appearance the way you are. And this is really helpful for me to keep in mind. It's like a universal human truth that we're much harder on ourselves than anyone else is on us. When, I'm with a friend who's bemoaning the aging process and how her looks have changed in midlife, I'm just like, what? No, like, no, I love you. You're beautiful. Everyone loves you. No one's thinking about that. And then, I go home and I'm in front of my mirror, brushing my teeth, like, oh my God, look at me. What has happened to me? And I'm like, oh no, it's the same for me. I wanted to read these 3 comments that were left on my Instagram post that I did a couple years ago. Well,
tell me about that post. What was that?
Yeah, I'll read the post too. Because this is a strong stance to take, according to some people. To me, this is like the truest words I've ever written. We owe our children and our parents our original faces. To me, mothers changing the faces their children have grown up with is horrific. Our faces are the culmination of the thousands of ancestors whose bodies interwove generation after generation before us. Changing the faces our grandmothers and grandfathers gave us in order to prioritize meeting some absurd cultural standard is the ultimate disrespect toward our families. And then I went on to write, my only health and beauty goal as a 43-year-old mother, so this was 2 years ago, who certainly mourns her youth but knows there's no such thing as anti-aging, is to be a vital woman in my elder years. Every choice I make now is geared toward living as long as I can in a state of strength and health so that I can have as long as possible with my children and hopefully future grandchildren. I won't ever go to extreme measures to meet beauty and body size standards. No Ozempic or similar metabolism-destroying compounds, no injectables that derange tissues and cause autoimmune and other disorders. And I will die on the hill of retaining my natural face as an act of defiance against a toxic culture, an act of ancestral reverence, and a gift of authenticity to my descendants. Yourself, your health, and your ancestors are sacred and deserve your devotion. Our distorted and unhealthy culture is not and deserves your rebellion. And
Wow.
reading that now, I'm like, that is very strongly stated. But I do feel
I don't feel it was that strong. I agree with that. But I bet you got some interesting comments and DMs from that.
I certainly did, mostly along the lines of the choice feminism. Why judge? Let her do what she wants. Like, whatever anyone wants to do is empowering and good if she's female, basically. Okay, I want to read these 3 comments because these kind of prove what I'm saying. My mother has had breast implants, liposuction, gastric bypass, skin removal, Botox, and endless lip injections. She is offended if I speak on the topic at all, and bringing it up causes further strain in our relationship, so I've made myself refrain. I do, however, consistently mourn the loss of the mother I once had. It's a very personal grief that I am unable to disclose to her, and I live with it. I will never ever do that to myself or my children. We are meant to age. It's sad to me how dishonoring American culture is to the crone. And then the second comment, yes, the grief that comes along with watching your mother change herself to fit certain beauty standards is not talked about. My mother had a facelift when I was in high school. I had no idea she was doing that until she was home recovering. No talking to me about what she was going to do beforehand, and the only thing she said to me about it afterward was that she needed to keep up her appearance for her career. It totally affected my self-esteem because previously I thought she was the most beautiful woman in the world. It still makes me cry 30 years later. And then one more, this so much. I wish I could have known the true face of my mother. I don't know what I'll look like as an elder because I didn't get to see it in her because of surgeries. I'll never do that to my girl.
Oh, I could cry.
No. I know. So to me, that's what's at stake.
And it is what's at stake. I think the difference that we might see in future generations is that, there's a lot of talk about Gen Z who grew up as preteens right on the cusp of social media and had their whole worldview shaped by that time. But generations now, these kids that are getting phones and social media when they're 7, 8 years old, maybe it won't be as jarring for them because it's going to be so downloaded already at such a young age. Like maybe the perspective of truly aging won't be accessible to them.
Mm-hmm.
And that is a terrifying thought. Like, what if the crone vanishes in the culture? Yeah, that gives me chills. And I'm also thinking a lot about I forget what study this was, but there's a study on how newborns and infants, how they read their mother's faces, and how important all of those micro movements of the face, even just mom going from content and at peace to like a stressful thought, will trigger a response in the baby because we're so sharing the same nervous system and so in tune with each other. So what happens if you have a mother who's not moving her face? Like, what happens when we freeze our facial musculature? Like, how does that resonate in a baby? And that's not really talked about. And that's, of course, the most sensitive thing for any mother who is doing that to their face. That's, of course, super triggering and impossible to listen to and to hear. So I don't think there's going to be any constructive or solid conversation around that in the social media space. But I think that's a valid thing. And also not being able to fully emote. I think about that all the time, that when you're in despair, the necessity to be able to express through your whole body and through your whole face how you embody despair so that the charge of despair can move through you and alchemize to something else. Like, the actual process of healing requires our embodiment. So what happens then if our faces can't express despair or ecstasy and joy or any of those very, very important biological functions of emotion? Like, what actually happens? Can we feel ecstasy and joy the same if we can't emote it the way we're meant to? I don't know.
Yeah, so that's kind of twofold there, right? If you've frozen your face, can you properly process emotions out for your own self and your own self? And what happens when you can't properly express to the people around you? Like, it's so interesting to study micro facial expressions. Darwin went really deep into these. And there's really interesting books from like the 1800s of showing each little movement of like the lip up or down and the eyebrows up or down. And each little movement communicates something subconsciously to the person we're talking to. And this has evolved over millions of years and is such a deeply meaningful and important part of relating with other humans. So to freeze that, to cut that off, especially like you said, when we are talking to our children, to newborns, to babies who are super attuned to facial expressions, right there. From birth, the distance that they can see it's like 12 to 18 inches. It's where a mother tends to hold her baby, looking at its face. And breastfeeding, like how it's attuned to face from birth, basically, a human baby is. And I mean, so yeah, imagine like this scenario you named, a child being born today whose mother's face does not emote correctly, and they don't learn emotional intelligence from a primal perspective at a very young age. And then they get a device a few years later, a few years after birth. And by the time they are, really self-conscious, self-aware, like adolescents, they have no idea what a real human face should look like, or body, or, their beauty standards are so warped. And then as they actually get into aging in the elder years, they've never seen a crone. Like you said, there's no archetype of the crone in their culture. And just imagine how discombobulating that would be, how anchorless that child would feel. Again, this is what I'm speaking out against. This is why this feels like so vitally important to me, to be like, hey, everyone, I'm over here not doing that if it's helpful for you to see someone making that choice.
How is your general community? Do you have kind of a little bit of everything?
No. This brings up another good point. It's easy for me to make this choice in my community. It's a rural county in Northern California. There's a lot of rednecks on their land doing, land-based work. And there's a lot of hippies and new age people, Nevada City in Northern California. And there's just like normal in between people too. I'm just kind of, there's archetypes here that don't exist in a lot of other places though. But like, women wear makeup. Some of them do, some of them don't. Like, I don't wear makeup. No, it's not weird for anyone to see me like that. I have started wearing mascara recently because I had skin tags on my eyelash line. So then there's this whole thing too, as our face changes, what little modifications are we maybe willing to make that we wouldn't have made 5 years ago? But like, I saw, it's different when I go to LA or San Francisco, or I saw a comment someone made recently. She lives in Dublin, Ireland, and she's like, every woman gets Botox and has fake nails and dyes her hair, and like no one opts out in this city. And so I do think a lot about how it's easier for me to make this choice than it might be for some other people. How about you?
No, I think that's a huge thing. I'm also in my sort of immediate community. We live on the countryside, neighbors, my closest friends. No one's getting Botox or their faces changed, and there's also very, like, a little bit of makeup, but no one here has big acrylic nails and that kind of thing. But then you go into Stockholm and it's a totally different thing. And all the friends I had growing up, like that kind of outer community from my childhood, pretty much everybody has something done. And I find myself in those social settings, I feel very different. Like in my regular social settings, I don't think about my face at all. It's not front of mind. But if I'm surrounded by people who are getting things done, I become hyper aware of the fact that I have not. Because it's sort of that feeling of, if you're so aware of your own, you must be looking at me like I'm 100 years old.
Mm-hmm.
I must be kind of the odd one out. And I get that comment on social media sometimes, like, it's so easy to do just a little, like you could just dye your grays and you would look so much younger. Like, it's so easy to do so little. And it's also so, people, I think, who are doing something get very, very aware when people are not. Like, why wouldn't you? Why would you walk around with some gray hairs if you don't have to? It's such a simple thing. And for me, it's not such a simple thing. I've never dyed my hair. If I did it now, it wouldn't be because it's a fun thing to change my, a lot of people do that for fun because they enjoy it. For me, it would be like, oh, I'm going to try to not look like I'm aging.
Mm-hmm.
And that is something I don't want to. It feels like resisting myself rather than putting on makeup. The other day I got my eyelashes dyed, and I thought, like, maybe I normally wear mascara if I'm going to the city or something like that. But I don't really enjoy it. I don't like taking makeup off. I don't have like a fun relationship to makeup like some people have. Like, they adore it and it's like art, and I don't feel like that. I just wear it to feel a little bit more like perky or awake or. And then I got my eyelashes dyed for the first time in my life because I thought maybe then I won't wear mascara. It's like an easy thing. And I came home and tucked my daughter in, and she took my face in her hands and pulled me away, aghast. And she went, "What did you do?" And all I did was dye my eyelashes, which wasn't even that visible. And I was like, what do you mean? She's like, you did something to your face. What did you do? You did something to your eyes. And I said, oh, I got my eyelashes painted. And she says, I don't like it. And she had this immediate reaction of, this is different. This is new. And it was such a subtle thing. And I go, wow, okay, you know what? I don't have to do that again. You know, it wasn't that big of a deal for me, and it's not worth it to see that reaction in her. And it really made me think, like, what a big thing it would be if I suddenly started changing my appearance in that way. That's not a small thing. But for many people, it's like, it's self-care. You know, I get my nails done and I do my hair and get a little filler. And I think it's so normal now, like getting those kinds of treatments done. It's treated as getting a manicure. Like, it's at the same level and it's offered the same and it's talked about the same. And when I was growing up, or when I was in my late teens, early 20s, that was something very strange and exotic and like a Hollywood, you know, crazy thing that people would do to try to not age. And now it's very, very normal. And I think people find it very strange to resist it or to judge it or to talk negatively about it, like how we are now. I can see anyone listening to this who has a little bit of that done feeling rejected, feeling like, well, personally, we are rejecting them or judging them for doing that. And I think that's also a really, really hard thing, because then how do you meet then? You can't talk about it.
Here's a comment that I received on my Instagram post about all this anti-aging stuff that I didn't read during this episode. Someone wrote, "Dear middle-aged and older women, we need to see you loving yourselves exactly as you are. Signed, us younger women." This comment really hits me in the heart, as I'm sure you can imagine. And I was thinking about it when I checked the latest list of bookings for my upcoming Costa Rica retreat this November 3rd through 8th, and saw that the age span of the women joining is between 25 and 70. It made me smile so big to see that. We had a similar age span with my last girls' trip 3 years ago. I can't believe it's been 3 years. And it's what I want. I want varying ages and this span of generations for us to all come together, be together in nature, be nourished together by the food and the plants and the soil, and especially the waters of Costa Rica, while we share our life experiences, our hard-earned wisdom, our mistakes, our vulnerabilities, our struggles. There are 4 spots left now. We're going to be swimming. We're going to be immersing ourselves in water. Is the whole point of this trip, is why I chose this itinerary when you, my audience, chose Costa Rica. Probably because it's most affordable and maybe most beautiful. So if you'd like to join us, if you'd like to claim one of these last 4 spots, I would absolutely love to have you. There's only about a month left to sign up, and you can learn more, have all your questions answered at the link in the show notes. And of course, you can message me if you have any other questions. Yes, I was going to ask you if you feel that way from your friends in the city, because I do, from my childhood friends. You know, they all live in major California cities where, there's like a place on every street corner to get this done. And one of them was telling me that she was commenting on my gray hairs here, and she was like, "Oh, I could never."
You have the same spot as me.
Yes, the
like
temples.
Like right here, kind of the side of the hairline.
Yeah. I mean, look how long
I think it looks
growing.
amazing. Like with your dark hair, it looks so like witchy and cool. Yeah, I really like it.
She goes to this, she has a membership at a hair dyeing salon that's just to cover grays. And so she's just like, has her monthly appointment where she just pops in and it's like going grocery shopping, or, it's that, it's that normalized. And and they all get Botox, which really surprises me because growing up, we were never like the beauty obsessed girlies at all. And none of them really are in their lives either. They're all moms, they're all like hardworking moms. But it's so normalized, and everyone that they know in their cities does it too. So they just do it. And I feel that they feel that I'm judging them just by me not doing it, even though we've never really talked about it. And that's, that can be a challenging dynamic.
I feel that too. I feel both. Like, I'm assuming that they think I'm judging them.
Yeah.
And I'm also assuming that they're judging me for like slowly getting uglier when I could be maintaining a status quo or something, which also like isn't actually true in that sense. But then it's, we've had some conversations about it, and I had a friend say, I was obsessing over these lines, these specific lines in this one spot on my face. And I felt like I had them way earlier than anybody else. And so much of my mind space was taken up by just staring at these lines in the mirror and trying to do my hair in different ways to stretch my face and try to change this and try to use this makeup. And she said the moment I started having it done, it says I felt just relief. And now I don't think about it anymore. And I have space and energy for more important things. And I can see that. That's also a very valid thing. The pressure to look this type of way. I mean, it can be so, it's so harmful, and what it does to our mental health. And so at what point is it also just like understandable?
Yeah.
It is understandable.
Yeah.
That so many women are.
And I think, like I said, I haven't worn mascara since high school. On a daily basis, obviously, special occasions or photo shoots. And I didn't think I ever would. And then I got these freaking skin tags on my eyelash line. And I'm like, well, I'm not going out with those visible. I'm not doing that. And, I curl my eyelashes and put mascara on. You can't see them anymore. So I wonder how else might I, soften or give in to things that right now I think I won't.
That's also a big thing. Like I've learned enough about myself I try to be a little bit smarter around I will never, ever in a million years, and here's my line for this. Like, I was a hardcore militant activist vegan for so many years, and then got really sick, and then had to sort of step away from this huge part of my personality with a community that I had supported and helped make vegan. The amount of just drama and hatred. And I still, every day I have a hate comment from someone who's vegan, who's going to hate me till they die. So I'm also kind of, this is how I feel now. I really want to hold this stance. I feel it in my bones, how important it is. I can't see myself ever going to those extremes, but also like, I got my eyelashes dyed. Like, maybe in a few years, I want to get these gray hairs dyed, and then I'll be a hypocrite for talking about not dyeing my hair. It's also so like, we do our best at every stage of life, but we need to surround ourselves with people who have the views that we have, who agree with us on these super fundamental points, because it's so easy to get lost. It really is very, very easy to lose ourselves.
Yeah, I almost feel like there are no, it's just so not black and white with this issue. Like, the part that is black and white for me is modeling the healthiest aging process that I can for my daughters and for like collective girlhood on the planet. Not normalizing Sharon Osbourne, Kelly Osbourne, Demi Moore, these Nicole Kidman. Like, I talk to my daughters about it. I'm like the Osbournes, I showed them before and after pictures, because Kelly Osbourne has a child or maybe two. I don't imagine that's your mother and grandmother, and their faces completely change. It's just so, it's like a horror show to me. So I do talk to my daughters about it and show them what's going on, and talk to them about the side effects and the dangers of Botox and fillers and like what can go wrong. Not my little one yet, but the oldest is almost 20. So, we do talk about these things because of course she wants to be beautiful, and she is beautiful, which means that she gets a lot of feedback for that, which means that when she hits like the age I'm at now, she's going to start being like, wait, what happened? This used to be like such a big part of my identity. So that there are the places where I'm black and white. Like I feel very strongly about this stuff, but then the rest of it is so gray. And I understand why women feel this pressure. Like you said with your friend, that making that change really lifted a burden from her. That kind of sounds worth it to me, to like let that go, as long as whatever she did, doesn't have terrible repercussions or possible dangers. It's just, it's
that's
interesting.
Part of it too. It's like, we don't know. It's so easy to willy-nilly introduce these things to women. And then we don't know. Yes, everybody says it's safe, but we don't know what decades of using Botox, like what it actually does for your health and to your system. And it's going to be a generation before we actually find out if there will ever be research enough on that to prove that,
Well, there are plenty of stories. I follow a couple pages of immediate horrible reactions to Botox and fillers. But then, like you said, there are going to be the long-term consequences that we don't yet know. Same with the GLP-1s. Like I know they have medical use. I have a type 1 diabetic in my family. And I know that they have helped people. And I can see situations where they are helpful. And there are very real consequences that are only going to be known as this plays out over the coming years.
Yeah, it's heavy. I really feel it's heavy. And it's heavy to not know where we'll be in 5 years. Like so much has changed in the past 5 years in this conversation. Like where are we just a couple years from now? It's moving so quickly. And do your children does your daughter have social media? Have you had? Yeah. I mean, now she's an adult, but how is that?
Adult. Man, because like you said, she's that Gen Z where when they were first coming of age, hitting adolescence, being given devices, we did not yet know what that did to teens' mental health. It's like in the 2010, that era. And I did not give her a device, but someone else did. And one thing that she says is that, yes, it can be like you naturally default to comparing yourself to the women that you see there, and it like all the product hawking has made her buy like a bunch of skincare and beauty products over the years to try, and so she's aware of that, and I hope part of it has to do with the fact that I keep talking to her about it. But she also shows me accounts where of young women her age who like show, this is the photo I posted, but this is the photo I didn't post. Where like they show, this is what my belly actually looks like. This is what my body looks like when I'm not looking perfect. And she's like, these accounts have helped me so much to stop chasing like a standard of perfection that doesn't exist. I'm like, okay, well that's a good side of social media. I didn't have that as a teenager in the 90s. All we had was freaking Kate Moss and, Paris Hilton. And like, there was no alternative look at that. This is what airbrushing is. This is what Photoshop can do. So I see it as a blessing and a curse. I'm not sure if I answered your question.
Oh, I was just wondering sort of the navigating that decision around like screens, or at what age, or how long do you delay? Or I feel now it's like if I get to choose, I would never want for my children to have one.
Yeah.
I mean, at least when we were growing up, we had breaks between reading the horrendous anorexia promoting magazines. You would put them away, and now it's this lifestyle of never really putting the images away. And so it's, yeah, I don't know. I feel like looking at my daughter's, her school, I mean, she's only 9, so she's in that age where everybody's starting to get a phone. And what it does at that age, just following one influencer who looks a certain type of way. That's enough for that to feel very, very normal. And that's their real life that we're watching. And she always looks like that. And um, so, yeah, I struggle with this whole thing. And it's almost making me, well, it is making me take a step back from, okay, wait, when I dye my eyelashes, here's how she reacts. When I put makeup on to go to the city to have dinner with my husband, she's really watching me like, what is that for? Why are we doing this? Are we doing this because it's fun and adornment's fun? Or are we doing this because I'm getting old?
Mm-hmm.
You know? or to not look tired or to look more so and so, like all of this nuance, it's an important conversation to have. And I think as mothers, we could be having them more around like, why do I do what I do?
Mm-hmm.
Everything, head to toe, top to bottom. We are modeling that. I mean, my mom had breast implants and then got breast implant illness from it. And that was a whole ordeal. And now it's like very vocal against all sorts of things. But, you know, I remember when she had them put in, there was no conversation with anybody around. Like, you know, of course, it's a personal decision, but as a mother, it's still, you know, our children are watching everything we do and listening to the conversations we have, you know, having a parent who's like, oh, I look so fat, or oh, I'm getting so old, and how we talk about ourselves or how we talk to ourselves. Like they're listening to every single word, every intonation.
So much to say to that, because I'm having these conversations a lot with my 19-year-old right now, you know, and sometimes she's like, Mom, it's really hard to hear you say that about yourself. And I'm like, I'm sorry, honey. I'm trying to like express what I'm actually going through at 45 to you, because, you know, it came up, we were looking at old photos, and I don't know, I guess I'm like, I feel like I'm modeling aging for you and just letting you know this is what's coming up for me right now. But, you know, I don't like hate myself. And I'm sorry it's hard for you to hear me talk about myself like that. I'm just trying to be honest, and I will be more careful, and I want to keep having these conversations with you. And my 9-year-old, I also have a 9-year-old daughter, absolutely no screens for us. She does watch movies sometimes, but no social media whatsoever. It is like one of my strongest parenting values, and we've been able to build a community of other parents who feel the same way, where we are putting that off as late as possible. Because, you know, we know now, the studies show that kids at their age, like middle school age, which, you know, she'll be at soon enough, they cannot discern reality. You can tell them that's a fake, that's an influencer, this is what they're doing. They will not understand it. And they're just starting, girls, to understand the power of their looks. And it becomes an all-consuming obsession. I think most of us remember that from our own adolescent and teen years. So that feels very, very important to me, to protect her from that for as long as possible. And it's already seeped into her. She already wants to wear like the crop top because she knows that looks cuter. And, you know, maybe because she has a 10-year older sister too. But for me, it feels like I'm constantly like on the defense, you know, keeping the culture and toxic beauty standards out of her realm for as long as possible.
Oh, same. That's, I feel like I'm playing like table tennis or something, like with all the stuff coming in and yeah. And we also have I've told her she can have a phone when she's 16. But since so many of we haven't been able to build a community here around that same value, or we came in a little late, like we haven't lived here for that long, and we live on the countryside, so a lot of kids here get a phone under the guise of safety and riding the bus alone and things like that. But there's other ways to do that isn't a smartphone with social media. And on the bus, they're on their phone. I can't control that. She doesn't have one, but she's watching over someone's shoulder.
Right.
And
it's really hard when the parents in your community don't share the same value. It's so hard to tell your kid, you can't have the thing all your friends have. I mean, it's almost impossible. Yeah, my 9-year-old watched Sabrina Carpenter music videos at a friend's house recently, and I'm like,
oh, wow.
What? Like, I never thought that would happen. Okay, I need to, have a talk with someone. It's impossible to stem that.
It is impossible. Yeah. Yeah. And then some people will say, well, you have to also they're going to get there eventually. It's better to be present and get to talk about things than making it so taboo that when they have seen something, they feel like they can't share it because they're not supposed to do it. And then, but my daughter definitely has friends in school who are super into doing stuff with their hair and, wanting a little handbag to take to school. And I'm like, dude, you're 9, go climb a tree.
Exactly. There are skincare influencers their age on social media.
I heard that someone tried to launch a skincare brand for children. Did you hear that?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen it myself, but I've read about it. Like 8, 9-year-old girls who are every day like, I just got this product. This is what I'm doing. I just cannot.
Oh, wow. Oh, no, let's not do that.
No. I'm in conclusion, I am just the type of parent who has like explicit guiding conversations all the time. That is my parenting philosophy. And because my parents did that, and their values did seep into me through that. And, as someone who lost her mom unexpectedly, man, my nervous system is like wired to expect catastrophic death and loss. And so I'm constantly also thinking, what if I die tomorrow? I want to say these things to them before that happens. And I'm such a fan. And I think a lot of parents don't want to like meddle too much or don't quite know what to say. So they don't just say the thing, but I'm a big fan of saying the thing and having the conversations ongoing. Because once they hit a certain age, they do not care what you think anymore. They are so bored by you. And then also once they hit a certain age, they leave you. They leave your home. So you really do have a limited amount of time in which to instill the values that are important to you and give them the messages that you think will carry them through. I would love to continue the conversation on Patreon. And I know this is something you've shared about quite a bit before, but I'm really interested in your vegan story and like how that turned around for you and what nourishment looks like now. I often joke that I'm the original ex-vegan influencer because I started.
I think you are.
I started blogging about not being vegan anymore in 2008. And it's just so interesting to me to continue watching people come to the same conclusion. And anyway, I would just love to talk about nourishment and what that looks like for you as a mother and how that meaning has changed for you over time.
Let's.
Okay. Any final thoughts?
I just want to say how I love that you're having this conversation and that I think that social media post you posted, I think you should share more along the lines of that. We need more of your voice in the space. And if we don't have the conversation, then who? So thank you for carrying it for us.
Well, thank you, because you posted that to almost 2 million people. And that is scary, I imagine. I can't imagine having that big of a following. It terrifies me. And so, thank you for being willing to hold the field in that large of an arena.
Thank you. Yeah, there's a reason I don't do that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
My nervous system can't handle that.
Yeah,
every day. It's once in a while.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Rachel. All right, patreon.com/medicine stories for my and Rachel's extended conversation on nourishment.
I mean, it's crazy. It sounds so insane saying that now, that I was treating my body in this way. Like my body was secondary to the belief that I had. Just very, very, very sad.
It's an ideal. It's an idealistic. The word cult-like is coming to mind, but just how like an ideal can take over your mind. Like you feel like you're breaking a spiritual law eating an egg, like the most basic food that almost all animals and humans have sought out since the beginning of time.
Staying nourished as a woman. I mean, it is, you talk about that so beautifully and so much on the show, which I really appreciate. I've learned a lot from the guests that you've had on the podcast, just about how to really, like what real nourishment actually is. And I never had anybody model that for me. My whole life. I think there was, I don't know how far back that stretches, but I remember my grandmothers like watching their weight a little bit, or little comments around like, oh no, just no, a small piece of cake for me. And that kind of talk around like being a woman, not having too much, not taking too much, but there's always this risk of like, oh, you're over consuming. And it's like, it's just kept us all so depleted for generations. It did feel a little bit cultish to me, how I was with veganism, without a clear person to follow, no cult leader that I was like bowing to all the time. But a lot of the other traits of cult definitely were present.
The dogma and the way the operating system takes over your brain.
And being good, like also as a woman, I think that's a big thing. Eating like this makes you good.
Yeah, like, morality.
That person, the morality.
Yeah, bringing morality into an ideological system like a cult makes it stronger because people want to be good or be seen as being good. We talk about shifting food ideologies, how they can become almost cult-like and how they take over the way we view the world, and how we've approached food and nourishment and shifting beliefs and practices around that in our families with our children, because that can be a whole thing too. Not only how these food choices are affecting us, but how they're affecting the people around us and especially our kids. Costa Rica, the girls' trip that I'm hosting in November, the deadline to register is soon. There are 4 spots left. We are going to be swimming in hot springs and a waterfall, and a woman who has stayed at the hotel we're staying at said that the pool is actually amazing too. So at least 3 opportunities for swimming, which I'm so looking forward to. Last day to purchase tickets is September 12th or 13th. I'll say 12th just to be safe. And I would love to see you there. It's coming up. It's so soon. I'm so excited. And mythicmedicine.shop for all of our handmade, mostly homegrown, high potency, truly made with love and with the best intentions for you and your family and your ever-changing, ever-evolving female body. mythicmedicine.shop. Check the show notes for the link to the Healing Waters Nature Immersion Retreat this November. And thank you so much, Rachel. Thank you so much for these conversations. And I'll see you guys next time.